regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. And our future is uncertain.
Would be honored if you would join us.
You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
Do or do not. There is no try.
Watch your left! I can't shake him! I'm hit! I'm hit! Where's our reinforcements?
Breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Soka.
I won't leave you. Not this time.
This is the way.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Across the Galaxy with myself, Jedi Master Trevor, and Jedi Master John Alcorn. John, how are you doing on this glorious Star Wars day?
You know, obviously, besides my favorite day of the year outside of Star Wars Day, we got a new trailer, and that was super exciting. But we're great, we're glad, and yeah, this has been a good while in the making, and this and the Marvel Dudes, I'll be honest, would be my two favorite podcasts to make.
I can't agree more. This is something great for ICE and a lot of good stuff coming your way, a lot of good content. But like you said, John, the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer just dropped today. I know we're going to have our second episode diving in a little bit more in detail, but I want to get your first reactions. What did you think when that trailer dropped early this morning?
First of all, I wake up, I check my messages, and you say there's a trailer drop. I'm like, okay, I'm not surprised, but I don't know how much they're going to reveal just because, well, it's so close in 23 days. Looking at the trailer, it's been a Star Wars fan for almost 20 years. It's really cool to see Obi-Wan Kenobi again, Uncle Owen, and of course them talking about Luke, and really be curious to see how the adaptation is of that, just like they did same way to Anakin Skywalker in episode 1, Phantom Menace. But it was really cool. I was obviously saying when they showed the Grand Inquisitor, they said, you can't beat him. We obviously know who him is because the Grand Inquisitor, if you don't, Grand Inquisitor is basically working with Darth Vader, and just seeing at the end the final parts of them like putting on the chest plate in the metal arm, whether it's the one from the third movie or not. That was for a Star Wars fandom, that was to say this life, that was really cool.
Yeah, even on top of that, even if you look at the Kenobi poster as well, they even have a picture of mini Darth Vader in the smallest on a hilltop. But like, I'm just trying to figure out, where are these two going to meet? Where are they going to fight? And what's going to be in this 6, I guess, episode series for all that we know? A lot that needs to be unfolded, but we don't want them to rush the final 2 episodes. I want to be a good storyteller where it's like you're satisfied from start to finish and you feel like, oh, they didn't rush it. But I'm a little bit wary that only having 6 episodes when you have like the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett that were like 8 episodes, and now you're only doing 6 for this one. Like, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but we'll see what, Disney can pull this one off. And let's see on top of that.
That I definitely think is a concern. I don't know if the rumor is true, but I'm assuming each episode should be about an hour long. That would have to be the only way to justify it, because when they originally heard that, oh, this is coming at May 27th instead of May 25th, which, again, in my opinion, this didn't make any sense, they would have to be an hour long, because you don't want to pull a Moon Knight and it be too short and pacing. So I'm ready for it, and let's do it.
Yep, yeah, I would say, catch our second episode a little bit later. I guess we'd say next week, where we dive deeper into the, trailer, have some pictures, and really analyze this trailer and see what we can come up with some of our theories and what can come up next. But with the honor of Star Wars Day, John, let's go where it all began. What got us into Star Wars? What got us all excited waking up saying it's finally Star Wars Day? Like, what is that true motivation for us Star Wars fans?
I would say for me, I think the early 2000s. It was 2003, back in the day when VHS was still a popular thing before Netflix. And I remember, I think my dad showed me the original episode 4, 5, and 6 on the VHS tape, and like there's certain movies and trailers you dislike, but you can't really, I guess, explain. It's not like, oh, this thing was really good because it had a good plot. It's been a great plot through episodes 1 through 6, not the other 3, last 3. But it was just something about it. And then, of course, episode 3 came out, and I was like, what is this? Like, he turns into Darth Vader. He tries to kill Obi-Wan. And we don't necessarily get a lot of explanation. Why did the clones turn on, of course, the Jedi? And of course, that gets answered in the Clone Wars. In 3rd grade, we had a day where we got to dress up as one of our heroes, and we had to do like a presentation, give like a couple of summary points of who that person was. Of course, myself dressed up as George Lucas, had the hat, had the camo jacket, had the glasses, did my whole presentation on the movies that he did, and that was really cool. But it was just, I don't know if it's just spending time with family watching Star Wars, but it was just a story I think that just really connected with me.
Yeah, for me, I would say one of my neighbors gave us the original trilogies on DVD, and me and my family sat down and watched it. And I would say, like, I think episode 5 was my favorite because you saw like the AT-ATs on the Battle of Hoth, and then you really would show the Empire's might with the Super Star Destroyer appearing as Vader's flagship. When it's like the Empire is back. They lost their Death Star, but they're back in full swing, really, taking care of the rebels as best they could. And then like Return of the Jedi, I was like, oh, you had such a great film in episode 5. And then you hit 6, it's like, so this is how the saga ends. And then you go to the Battle of Endor and you have the Ewoks, and where it's like, how does the Empire lose to a bunch of Care Bears? Come on. It's something interesting, but the Ewoks did it. They, destroyed ATSTs and caused some pandemonium for the Empire. But I think overall, the original trilogy got people into it. And then you had, the prequels with, 1, 2, 3, where that's where we kind of started to grow up, where you had the Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 before EA got their hands on it, where it got, my friends together playing that. Yeah. Once you were able to become a Jedi in Battlefront 2, a lot of people went to Felucia so they could play as a Leia Sakura with double lightsabers, because that was like the hot topic, where it's like, I could be a Jedi with 2 lightsabers, or being Darth Maul and just really just taking care of your friends out there on the battlefield and just having a great time. And then I would say, even before I even got those games, there was one Star Wars game that me and my brother played a lot growing up. It was called Rebel Strike. It was the second game to Rogue One, which they had for the GameCube. So we ended up getting that for one Christmas. And we were stuck on the Death Star's trench, the very first mission in co-op. And we just kept dying on the Death Star trench part. Like, got through all the first 2 mission parts and got to the last part. We just couldn't, do well. And then one day we watched Star Wars Episode 4 again, watched the whole attack on the Death Star. We finished the film. We looked at each other saying, let's try it again. And then we went at it, and we got to the same part. My brother got through the part of the trench where you had to go through the up and downs and you hit the straight part. And he was just beamlining it. And then all you hear is Darth Vader saying, I have you now. And his tie comes in and he starts shooting my brother. My brother's, maneuvering around in the trench, and he was able to, press the B button to fire the torpedo to destroy the Death Star, and that's how we beat the first mission. And then from there, we just started enjoying Rebel Strike, and that's kind of how we got into our love for Star Wars from that moment forward, I would say.
I remember when the original Xbox was the popular thing there, like a couple years after it came out. Like I said, the original Battlefront. I remember like some of the best memories I had. Went to my friend's house, a couple of doors down, couldn't run fast enough. They had all the coolest toys. They Anakin and Obi-Wan shit from episode 3. We played the original Battlefront, the ones that were good before EA got a hold of it. Shame, EA. And it was just such a good game. And I think a lot of times nowadays with Star Wars games outside of Fallen Order, it just didn't have the same effect, I think, on us as players. And just being able to play was awesome. But yeah, I don't know, man. I love Marvel. Y'all have done great, but just Star Wars, I have to give it just a little bit of the edge because of Clone Wars.
Yeah, even on top of that, like you look at like Lego Star Wars in general, like a lot of kids growing up for us got gifts for Christmas or birthdays for Star Wars stuff. So it's like it already started building up the fandom. And then once they dropped the first Lego Star Wars game, like you're playing episode 1 and 2, co-oping together with your friends or siblings. Then you get to Revenge of the Sith. Literally the last chapter, you're working together with, your sibling or friend, and then you actually have to fight each other. That is the most fun and interesting way to spin a game. It's like all this part in the game, you're working together. It's like, oh, we're going to do co-op. In the final chapter, you're dueling it out, saying who's the better, Jedi fighter or swordsman in that sense. And that's what really brought people together. And you had the second one, and then you had the Clone Wars in there, then the complete saga, and now you have the Skywalker saga with everything on top of that. So it's just like you watch that just grow as we grew up. So it's just like there's different eras of Star Wars where people grew attached. I think we just grew up in the gaming era of Star Wars, and I just can't wait to see what they bring out in the next years to come.
It just makes you want to be, like you said, those Battlefront games were really great. And I know it's unpopular because it's divided though. Because it's like a lot of Star Wars fandom I think is really positive, but then there's some people, if you like this specific movie, then you're a buffoon. We'll just leave it at that. But I think that's really cool. I don't know what it was, but I think it was episode 3 had to be my favorite. A lot of people gave flack back in the day for hating Chris as an actor, but you did a great job. Like when you continue to think about it, and after watching the Clone Wars, you really understand through the games and the movies what he went through. But yeah, my unpopular opinion, I like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But 7, 8, 9, no. But I remember playing the original Lego Star Wars game on the Game Boy, and I got so mad. I think it was Empire, the snow level, like trying to get around those ATSTs, trying to wind them up and strength. Like that drove me nuts every single time. I remember probably rage quitting on the original complete stack on the PlayStation 2 because that was I think I had to buy a new controller. But but yeah, a lot of great memories with that. I think 2005, but that was a really great game, and I'll forever remember playing that as a kid.
And then even looking at like the Battlefront 2, like the original Battlefront 2, that's how I'll just classify it as. They had one game campaign was called Rise of the Empire, where you started as the clone troopers and worked your way up. I want to say up to the Battle of Endor. I'm not too sure. I haven't played it in a while. But you got to experience the journey of the 501st. So like Anakin's platoon in the Clone Wars, and just experiencing that and what those men went through in the Clone Wars. And then you had the TV shows that tied in together, really just building it up. And it's just like all the beauty of Star Wars just intertwining with the games. And then you had Star Wars The Old Republic thrown in there where, you have the great MMO of just picking different Star Wars classes and playing with your friends as being like a Sith Lord, a bounty hunter, an Imperial agent, to, a smuggler, so you can live out your days as Han Solo. You wanted to be a Jedi Knight, trying to, be an Emperor in that game. There was just so much. They put a lot of stuff into that game. I know it's older. The graphics aren't as pretty, but I will still say the content of that game is still holds value. I hope they can put a nice HD remake into it. And like if EA does that right, or even make a new universe, expand it completely different, make a new Star Wars game, but still MMO, same classes, maybe even add new ones that we don't even know as Star Wars fans that they could put in and make this game even more interesting. But I think you still got to have a Jedi and a Sith component. But I want to keep that trooper class and that bounty hunter class, because I think those are just two unique classes that you can't leave out in Star Wars.
100%. Before we go to the comments, I remember this one last great Star Wars game before Fallen Order was Star Wars Force Unleashed. And I think it was the only game, from my recollection, that you could play as a Jedi, but also as a Sith per se. Because even then, you were basically, I think when you died, you became a clone. And there were hundreds of those, just like you saw in episode 2. There were a ton of clones. That game was, I think, really interesting to where he was Starkiller, I think, was the only one that was a Jedi. I don't know what you would classify him as, because he was pretty much back and forth. But the only one I think that could take on Darth Vader.
Yeah, and actually possibly could even beat him. That was how strong he was. You can go through some comments, John.
For sure. Okay, Calvin McClure, the man, the myth, McClure, Agent McClure, whatever you want to call him, says, let's freaking go, gents. Calvin, once again, let's do this. You know it, because like I said, Star Wars and Marvel, for me, that's definitely it. Captain Trevor, welcome aboard. And Calvin, I think we both can say this. I can truly say this one right here, because I did this a little bit this morning, and I'm not afraid to say that I cry in Star Wars. I do not care. He says, I will legitimately cry when Evan and Hayden interact with each other for the first time since 2005. I don't know how you would feel, Trevor, because you know how I am about Star Wars, but how would you feel when we finally see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader reuniting once again?
I feel like it's going to be like one of those things in the movies where it's like you see that moment and you're like, yes, let's clap, let's go. And everybody's cheering the movie theaters. That's what it's going to feel like. But it's like, it's not on the big screen. So it's like you're going to have to mimic yourself. But at the same time, I wonder how intense this, this lightsaber combat's actually going to be this time around. Like, I'm very curious, because I know in episode 3, I think it's still to this date is the longest sword fighting combat in cinema history. I think I may be wrong, but if somebody in the comments could fact check that, I think it is the longest sword fighting compilation known to date in cinema. So with that, and going into the future, what this episode could be when they actually meet, if they don't swing lightsabers, I may be a little disappointed, but at the same time, seeing them on the screen together since 2005, I think it's going to be a nice touching moment.
Definitely be awesome. The only thing I hope they don't do is go the Book of Boba Fett route, when they get to do so much fan service, when you still have a ton of story to tell. But I definitely have faith in them. Cal McClure, I think, shares maybe our same sentiments on some categories. 2 episodes being released on premiere day. Eager to see what lies ahead for time. Definitely, for sure. We're definitely kind of curious to see what happens moving forward, knowing that this is a limited series. Christy Wilson says, hi, guys. What's up, Christy? And, of course, Trevor, may the 4th be with you. I got into Star Wars because of my older brother, who's a huge Star Wars geek. I remember seeing the prequels in theaters and fell in love with Natalie Portman as Padme. I even went as an episode 1, Anakin, for Halloween when I was in kindergarten.
I guess if we're going to look at the Halloween costumes that we did, I know you dressed up as George Lucas, John, but for me, I've dressed up as Clone Troopers. So I got the 501 skin. I had that mask. And then my second one for Star Wars was Commander Cody. So I had the yellow, I guess the orange outfit, the, Commander Cody mask. That was my next one that I ended up going as.
Multiple times, I actually dressed up as Darth Vader. I remember one year, I don't know why. I guess this kid was traumatized, but I remember going in, and most kids liked it, and I just remember staring at this kid in my costume, and he was traumatized. But I got the red lightsaber. I remember having lightsaber fights at kids' birthday parties. We had a video game station, and of course, you gotta have Star Wars video games for sure. Christy Wilson also says, I remember watching Empire Strikes Back at a babysitter's house when I was a kid. I do remember that in terms of watching that. A lot of great memories. And of course, I think we both said Trevor at the time. I believe, whereas we meet are talking about how Anakin Skywalker, that name is dead to me. And we're like, but we've never seen Anakin Skywalker. Of course, that answered in the movies. Kyle McClure also says, I still wonder why George did things backwards. It was confusing to me, Trevor, as a kid. I don't know how you felt, because I remember asking my dad, like, so what happened in parts 1, 2, and 3? Well, this is episode 4. That I thought was weird, but I'm not sure, I guess, how you kind of felt about that way as a kid.
I do agree it's weird, but then the hard question, and as being a Star Wars fan, and if you've seen them all, is how do you recommend to somebody who's trying to get into Star Wars? Like, do you tell them to start with the original trilogy, or do you tell them to start in chronological order? That is a very hard pathway to go. But I want to see what your take is on it, John. I'm very curious.
There's only one way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because it explains the origin of, I always say the origin of Obi-Wan. We never really got that. But it shows what happened with, of course, Darth Maul. It shows what happened with Anakin Skywalker. It's kind of like going in time forward and then, well, what happened? Now we got to go back in time, back and forth. My opinion, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then, because it kind of explains a lot of things, but definitely live what you have to say about that.
I do agree with you, John, on watching in order, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's like you can't go wrong, like going 4, 5, 6, and then backtracking to like build up who Anakin Skywalker was, and then you go and then you throw in the Clone Wars to really build it up, and then you probably could rewatch 4, 5, and 6 with a better image, better light. What's actually truly built up behind this character as Darth Vader, why he did some of the actions that he did.
I just think after watching so much Star Wars, I'd love to be traumatized. So you go through 1, 2, 3, like, oh, this is cool, this is cute. No! And then you go through the rest of the episodes, and then you get traumatized in 7, 8, 9 because it's so bad. But that's neither here nor there. Kyle McClure says, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, having a character named after me, Kyle Kestis. Just gave me a name idea when I appear on the podcast. Oh no, can't wait to see. Oh no, I'm concerned. Hopefully you're not a Sith or a River Jar Jar Binks Sith Lord, but that's neither here nor there. Christy Wilson says, absolutely love the original trilogy. I agree, and it's very hard for me to say that I hate a movie or it was terrible. But 7, 8, 9, you deserve all of them. They're not my favorite, but we'll definitely leave that there. Colin says, no telling how long it took my brother to make these Star Wars tour out of Legos. The Lego Star Wars line dropped. The only thing that took longer is getting 100% on the complete saga Lego Star Wars game. That absolutely was grind. Colin says, not to mention, there's a whole entire area at Disneyland and Disney World that is all Star Wars based, and it's mind-blowing. GoFundMe? Nah, I'm just kidding.
Let's start the GoFundMe so we can stay at the Star Wars Hotel, bring Callan along, and have a great time at the local cantina. Listen to that same band over and over again.
You gotta have, but remember, gotta have the blue milk.
You gotta have the blue milk. It's very important.
Be curious to see what it tastes like. Christian Wilson says, excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think we definitely both are at this time, and I will not be ashamed to say that there will be moments, whatever those moments are, that I will cry like a baby, but I do not care. Kyle McClure also says, I frequently play Galaxy of Heroes on my phone, done by EA. It's cool. I believe I've heard of the game, but maybe I'm just because I don't like EA. But when I see EA on the title of a game, I kind of look the other way and pretend that I didn't see it. But Alex says, John Alcorn, do you want to buy some death sticks? I do want to go to Galaxy's Edge one day and build my lightsaber. It would be a Sith, obviously a Sith one, but it looks like a Jedi one. So it's very deceiving, just like certain characters are in the Star Wars cinematic universe. James Gonzalez says, hi guys, what's up, y'all?
That's fantastic from our loyal viewers for looking on tonight's program. It's so great to see that everyone's having a great night on the Star Wars program tonight. But John, I understand with all the Star Wars stuff, and I can kind of allude to it. I'm going to, with our script, I know we can pick and choose where we want to go, but I want to looking at all the Star Wars eras, which one would you want to be a part of? The Clone Wars, the Galactic Civil Wars with the Rebels and the Empire, or with the First Order and the New Republic, which is still kind of being more explored, but we still have like the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian with that, how that looks as well. So I kind of lump that in with, 7, 8, and 9 if you want, but it's more pre-7.
I don't have to say a word. You'll know my answer once I show you. The Mandalorian one, because it's really curious to explore more of, and I know trauma, we hate it, but we do in terms of Star Wars, but the more impact of Order 66, as you saw episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett, where Luke is training Grogu. Of course, there's a lot of callbacks to New Hope, but where he explains how he was basically trapped in Order 66, and we don't know what happened. And maybe in the future we get to see more and explore the creatures of, I don't know what this is called, but this creature right here. I don't know the creature's name, but those creatures. I think that's definitely super fascinating, and that Mandalorian armor is definitely cool. So if anyone wants to set up a GoFundMe so you can buy some Beskar, I won't complain.
For me, I'm very, very torn between the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. Those are, I would say, the two eras that I enjoy just experiencing the most, from being a clone, I wouldn't say a clone trooper, but being part of the Grand Army of the Republic, fighting the droid army, being in intense battles from start to finish, and being a Jedi, leading troops in space battles. There's just so much action. But at the same time, if I flip to, the Galactic Civil War with the Rebels and Empire, I want to command a Star Destroyer, sitting back, being an Imperial, in the Imperial Navy, saying, all right, we got to stop these rebel scums in the area and just be the true might of the Empire and show the Emperor how much loyalty I have and show how grand the Empire can become. So it's like very torn, but at the same time, I kind of lean more towards the Empire because at the end of the day, I want to command my own Super Star Destroyer, John, so I can cruise through the galaxy with a might of the Super Star Destroyer, because that thing is so massive. I played it in a game once called Empire at War, and I was able to command it. I'm like saying, this ship is a behemoth, took care of business, and I could spam TIE fighters like there's no tomorrow and stop any rebel fleet in my path, because that's how strong that vessel was.
You, sir, are a traitor.
I'm not a traitor.
You are a traitor. You tell that to this little child that you want to kill part of that.
You have something that belongs to me.
Kill something I want. No, but we apologize. Trevor is no longer part of the podcast because he agrees with the murdering of younglings in I'll be honest with you, Brandon. I did not expect that answer, but hey, that's the whole point of Star Wars. Is definitely a lot of different murders. I mean, different viewpoints. They just kill you. I'm sorry. It breaks my heart. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, John. But like I said, I could also go I'm right. I would say I would start my Star Wars journey like mid Clone Wars, like being able to be like a Jedi Knight, starting from there, and then like the early days of the Empire. I would say I would be fit in that time perspective, because I feel like by the time I get to the midpoint, to the height of the Empire, I feel like I'd be decommissioned from the Empire, relieved of my duties, because I feel like they would find me a traitor at some point and probably kick me out.
Well, only reason why I wouldn't pick the Clone Wars, because it's a great choice. There's so much. You'll hear this a lot during the podcast. A lot of trauma, a lot of death, and I don't want to have to be a clone trooper or part of the Empire that creates that trauma, because you lost 5, you lost so many pivotal characters in the Star Wars Cinematic Universe SCU that's too much. That is beyond too much. And but yeah, I mean, Trevor is. Well, we'll talk about that later. But now it's kidding. But yeah, Clone is the good one. It's so much.
It's a lot. I would say it's a lot.
Emotionally, it's a lot.
Because there's just so much in the Clone Wars that you can't fathom what those characters went through and all the chaos and the pandemonium, Jedi's turning on each other late in the war, like General Krell and his clone troopers. And it's just that guy. I'm like saying, I thought you were a Jedi and supporting your troops, and yet you sabotaged them to turn on each other and saying, oh yeah, the enemy's dressing up like you. And when you realize it's not even the case. It was false information. So you had to take care of a Jedi and classify as treason. And then you go towards the end of the war where you find the inhibitor chips, and then you have Palpatine spins it as the clones are just like misbehaving. And it's like, wow, you do that to people, and then Ahsoka getting framed on top of that. Just imagine being a Jedi and you were friends with Ahsoka, and then she leaves the Jedi Order. How would you feel as a Jedi? Just all that in the Clone Wars is just so much. Sure, we haven't gotten the other parts of the Star Wars trilogy yet, but the Clone Wars has just been so heavily invested. It helps out the other parts of the Star Wars sagas.
It just adds so much evil morals to it, because since the beginning, the whole point of the Clone Wars was that they put these chips in there. So once they said the term, just like it did in Marvel, pretty much they're going to turn on the Jedi. And I remember watching, I think it was season 7, towards the end, where Ahsoka's on the ship with, I believe, Rex, and Order 66 just happened, and he's literally pointing the gun at her. That, as a Star Wars fan, I don't know how you comprehend that, because essentially she is a teenager. Everyone and everything she knew was a lie from the entire beginning. And just like I remember when I decided, I told you, hey, I'm finally going to watch the Clone Wars, because I was already a huge Star Wars fan, and you see it time and time again, and he's like, I promise I will never let anybody hurt you. And yet this guy attempted to kill her. So in the Star Wars Rebels, but definitely, yeah, it's just something about Star Wars for sure.
I would say even on top of that, the more we can put our own theories out there. I know we can talk about the Clone Wars another day, but it's just like having Darth Maul appear in the Clone Wars was something that fans never thought would be possible. They brought him back, and I would say he's a key cornerstone to the events that helped lead to Revenge of the Sith and how things unfolded. Because there's one part in the Clone Wars where Palpatine says, I have use for you. And that kind of teases at the Battle of Mandalore, where Darth Maul sieges it and kind of makes the Republic pull their forces into a different way as the Battle of Coruscant happens, because you don't have Ahsoka there. But imagine if Ahsoka went back to Coruscant and there wasn't a Battle of Mandalore. Would Anakin even fall to the dark side because Ahsoka would have been there?
In my opinion, after what we talked about, the Jedi Order, at least however it started, seemed very hypocritical, because they talked about you cannot, and of course in the Clone Wars, but also in the movies, attachment is forbidden. And yet Obi-Wan had attachment to his master, and yet Obi-Wan had attachment to teaching Anakin, and yet he had attachment to Luke. So it's like you have that. You have Obi-Wan having a secret girlfriend that's official, not official, and then of course Obi-Wan knowing that he obviously disobeyed the Jedi Order, but yet was telling Anakin you gotta obey it, but yet he knew Anakin was obviously married to Padme, and so it's just a lot of great contradictions. But it's like, imagine being Ahsoka before Vaughn, like everything you knew, you leave the Jedi Order, everything you knew was a lie. How do you go from there? And for her to not turn to the dark side, definitely I think is a pivotal thing, because that was I think in the original Star Wars things back in the day, Luke was supposed to turn to the dark side and blah blah blah. But imagine being a teenager, everything you knew was a lie. How would you react? And everyone that swore to protect you outside of Obi-Wan, if even him, was set up to kill you.
Yeah, it's probably something that we'll never, I guess, could ever imagine in our lifetime. Hopefully never happens, but it's just one of those things that Star Wars is just so unique. You can tie it almost to anything in today's day and age, or even back in the past, what things symbolize and all that stuff. It's I would say it's a work of art. It's a masterpiece that just keeps growing. Sure, Disney is trying to put the clamp on it and saying what is canon, but at this point in time, where Star Wars is at in its, I wouldn't say life cycle, but in its existence, fans will just create what they want to create, and people will buy into it because it's Star Wars related. Like, you see people make indie video games to their own book series, to literally anything that you can imagine. Like today, me and John can, say, hey, let's make a Star Wars video game and just put tons of money into it. I want a Jedi in the, do like almost like a Fallen Order, but a different spin to it. Or, go into the Clone Wars, explore that, being in the, droid army, being a Jedi, and that's not a Jedi, a Sith in that context. Or, after the fall of the Empire, after, episode 6, what do you do? Like, as a Jedi, if you're still, you survived all that time, or you just start learning the Force, and now they have the Imperial remnants just broken out throughout the galaxy. So there's just so much Star Wars has to offer for people. It's just second to none, and I just don't want Star Wars to end.
Definitely don't want it to end, unlike certain characters in other universes, but we don't need enough be sent therapy bills. Send that to Dave Filoni and George Lucas and the Star Wars people right now. Chrissy says, I would like to be a Jedi with either a purple lightsaber like Mace Windu or a yellow lightsaber like Rey Skywalker. Ooh, no, we're not talking about that.
She's a Palpatine. She's a Palpatine. I'm living by that.
Bro, we talk about positivity here, so we don't talk about 7, 8, 9 because that I don't count that. Christy Wilson also says, love Reserve Dawson as Ahsoka. Personally, definitely agree. You've watched the Clone Wars, we've all did, but just seeing how she brings the character to life is definitely something that we needed to see. And in the next character moving forward, in any movie or TV show, you have to see Rex in live action at some point. Because sooner or later, he's going to die of old age and unfortunately pass away like the others did. But, I mean, who knows at that point in time. Chrissy also says, did you guys ever watch, we don't talk about, no, that's emotional damage. No.
Emotional damage.
That episode, I still have not recovered from. When we both set out, we both watched it. What were your thoughts on that before I give something?
Star Wars Rebels, I will say, is the beautiful in between, like, episode 3 and 4 fixed perfectly. You have that. You have the Empire showing how grand it is, with them having Empire Day on Lothal, to all that stuff with Agent Callus switching sides. It was packed with so much and with so many new characters that I am satisfied with. Like, we got Thrawn thrown in there. What a great guy. What a good villain for the Empire. Very solid, very brilliant and smart in his strategies. When he had a loss, he says, okay, that loss is fine, but I'm about to win this thing. Like, he literally took a setback and tried to make it into a victory. That's how smart Thrawn was.
I definitely enjoyed the show. There's moments before we get to the one I'm trying to avoid talking about. We both, yes, Chrissy did watch it. I would never watch it again because I'm so too traumatized with Star Wars. But going to that episode in season 2 was a perfect build-up. So all these movies and TV shows are building up to just literally just one moment. And it's cool for her to say that she's not a Jedi. She left the Jedi Order. So, yeah, she came back to help, but she's not a Jedi. But I think it's really cool, I think, with her dual lightsaber. But it's one that is the moment when they fight. This is before she knows that Anakin is alive, per se. They fight, lightsaber cuts up part of the mask, turns around and says Ahsoka. And I lost it right there because she thought either he was dead or what happened, and that I don't know how you would describe that. There was the writing of that, but Fraley was just really good.
Yeah, but even though it was 4 seasons, they done it well. I remember growing up, it's like, can I, invest time in the Rebels? I never really did. And then after talking, guys with on C2C and with John and Cal, I was like, all right, I'll give it a chance. And I just took some time and watched it. I'm like saying, not a bad way. That's how I also felt with the Clone Wars growing up. Like, it was on Cartoon Network so much. And I'm like, I was trying to follow the stories, and then you got hit with reruns. And then you just got lost, and you didn't know where you were in the season. And I kind of phased out of it because I'm like saying, I don't know where I am. And then I heard recently, they were coming back with another season. I'm like saying, they're really doing this to bring, season 7. I'm like, all right, I got to watch 6 seasons before to watch this one because I got to figure out where I left off. Sure, I remember certain episodes, but dang, it was a beautiful 7-season episode. And I love season 7 with so much with going on in it, to the Battle of Mandalore. Everything with Mandalore in the Clone Wars was great. It was well done, and I hope that we see more of it in The Mandalorian, understanding what happened to them and all that stuff, and why that race was depleted once the Empire came through and destroyed that home world. But that's a Mandalorian episode on this show for another time.
Yeah. Because I remember watching it back in the day. I'm like I told you, I watched a few episodes. I don't know what happened. Saw the original movie. Thought it was great. Glad I watched it, but we'll have to get another therapist bill for another day.
Oh, for sure. But with that leading more towards it, I think this is a perfect segue, John. With The Mandalorian season 3 on the horizon and the Book of Boba Fett and how it ended, let's go with the Book of Boba Fett since it's more recent, most likely fresh to us. Is, what can they add to Boba Fett's story? Like, they kind of put a bow and close up all loose ends to like saying this story is done with all that happened. Sure, we wish there was more to it, but how things ended, it's like, okay, you can put like a nail in the coffin. You don't have to make a second season because you tied up all loose ends.
Please do not make a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett. There are some moments I loved, but it's like, dude, the Dollar General Terminator, which to me was not my favorite part, because you're in an action scene and he to distract you. Well, it was a stormtrooper. It makes sense. But you jump and turn around. But I mean, there were some good moments. Like I say, they definitely turned it back around. This is definitely his. He's now the king. This is his palace. I don't know what story you have to have left. Essentially, the biggest question: how to get out of the Sarlacc pit. They answered that. What happened? They answered that. So I don't necessarily think you have much left. I think you should maybe have him as a side character in The Mandalorian, because, like I said, you don't have a lot of story left. You don't have the Din Djarin and Grogu type of character development with Boba Fett, and if there's another character in there somehow. So, yeah, it's just Boba Fett. It's not like it's Boba Fett and blank. But Mandalorian, it's Din Djarin, Grogu, and all these other different characters. But it was cool. They introduced, I think it's BD1 from Jedi Order into the TV show. So obviously, I'm ready. It'll be curious to see. Like I said, we want Mandalore. We're going to see more of that. We saw that towards the end of season 2 with certain of those characters. But I'm ready for season 3. I'm glad they had the reunion though, but at the same time, it didn't completely feel right. Like, it felt like, oh, it's so great to see him. I'm so glad. But at the same time, that's the Mandalorian. Not the Mandalorian 2.0 or 2.5 or season 3. But I'm excited to see what they do in season 3. I know there are rumors about certain characters, but I'll be honest to see how that is moving forward, because he took the bit, or I think, what do you call that? Made out that Beskar. He took that. So I'm assuming, since what happens with Yoda's lightsaber, I would think that's not necessarily a big part of it. Want to know what happened to Yoda's lightsaber? Who rescued him from Order 66? And like you said, in addition of just exploring more of why Mandalore and what happened there.
Oh yeah, for sure. For the Book of Boba Fett, like, I don't know what else you can have, like you said, John, but I did like when they brought Cad Bane into that. Just the good old Western outlaw, quick draw, shot the sheriff and the deputy. So if you know the Bob Marley song, it's like, wow, he did both at the same time. I'm like, what a I guess say classic bounty hunter. But at the same time, I want to see more Cad Bane. Like I know he was fantastic in the Clone Wars, but could we get a more I would say younger? I would say not younger Cad Bane, but like more of like in his prime in the Clone Wars, but hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Kenobi series. I could see that with the trailer that we had, what they've said, like with the I guess some of the words that were put out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Cad Bane showed up and we saw him and Obi-Wan go at it again. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I think that would do it justice. Like Cad Bane knows who Obi-Wan Kenobi was, and he has dealt many confrontations with him in the past. So it's another classic showdown that we possibly could get, but I don't want to put all my hopes up into it. So I want to see Cad Bane in the future. But with Boba Fett, I think I agree with you, John. Side story. And then let's go into Mandalorian season 3. What do you think it should be added on top of that?
Again, I know we talk about Mandalorian, and that's great. I want to know who rescued Grogu at the end of Order 66.
Wow, you just threw Grogu just like
well,
that.
I mean, you do encourage killing young. It's all jokes. But I think, like you said, that if you really want to know, because I think there's more. I know it's crazy to say, but there's more to Order 66, and I want to like who rescued him or how many people rescued him, because, like I said, and towards the trailer that we have for y'all for the show, Obi-Wan has a transmission that they also show in the Jedi Fallen Order. Do not go back to the temple. Order 66, all the Jedi have fallen. So I kind of wonder how many Jedi were left. Because I think, what's his name? That was rumored to be at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, but then obviously it was Luke. But honestly, I don't know. I want to know who rescued Grogu, and I honestly want at some point to explore the Yoda, whether it's in Mandalorian season 3, the species of Grogu, kind of how that works, because clearly he has some force powers, but definitely want to explore more. I think of Din Djarin, of course, towards the end of Boba Fett, where he took his helmet off, and that's a crime. And him learning the Darksaber, I think, is a really big thing, just because. So he struggled with that because it had a lot of power. You have to be trained, you have to be smart, you have to be diligent and feel the force around you. But honestly, I don't know what else. There's definitely a lot for sure.
But I think you got me thinking about with the Darksaber. Who is the other Mandalorian with the Rebel crew in Rebels? Sabine.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
So I want Sabine to be in the season 3 of Mandalorian, teaching Mando how to wield the Darksaber. Because she actually wielded it for a short time. So I could see it. I know Bo-Katan could also teach, Mando as well, but I want Sabine to do it, because then you could ask Sabine into the Ahsoka series. I think it would be a perfect transition in my eyes, but I am not the director. I think Sabine would be a great character in season 3.
I think it'd be awesome. We're starting, and this is what's so great about the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, is that there's so many more characters we're going to see live action. We get to see them in live action. This is why I wish I watched the public before the season 2 of Mandalorian, because it would mean a lot more. But seeing those live action and exploring those characters and their stories is definitely really interesting. I would love to, like I said, see him get trained with the Darksaber, and what does that mean for him in the universe and Grogu going forward? Because at some point, Grogu is going to outlive Din Djarin who knows how many times. So at that point, you got to just, I don't know. We could go all day, but we definitely don't have time for that.
I know we're approaching up close to the hour mark. We got like 10 minutes left, but John, would you like to roll in some final thoughts as we start wrapping up tonight's program?
Dave expected something in the mail. I'm sending you the therapist pill. It is from episode 1 to episode 6. Through the Clone Wars, through the Rebels, through Bad Batch, through the Mandalorian, through the Book of Boba Fett. We joke around with that, but it's done such a good job, and I'm looking forward to, again, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and kind of how that does moving forward, because honestly, I want to see more of the Grand Inquisitor, see more of just pretty much everything else in Star Wars. But yeah, I can't wait for next week's episode, and because we got a lot to cover with the trailer and everything, and that's gonna be really awesome.
I know, I'm excited for it too. I think we did a great first episode getting us off. I think we timed it perfectly with Star Wars Day. I know we were in group chats saying, when should we do a Star Wars podcast? When are we going to do it? When is it? And just keep bugging each other when it's going to happen. It was like, all right.
Me, but...
And we just said, we're going to do it on Star Wars Day. And we know the Kenobi Day is like, all right, we got on the 25th. We could start then. I was saying, let's start early. We know there's probably maybe a trailer or two that may drop before then. I guess we, had the stroke of luck on our side. We got a trailer on Star Wars Day. So that just helps this podcast out a lot. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. How many episodes that we're going to come up with? As you can see, our episodes have different titles. So we're going to try to put some fun and creativity into this podcast, put a lot of effort. I know we're going to bring Callan on to have him give his Star Wars take, as well as other people on C2C and other Star Wars fans who, may trickle their way in the comments. We'll just see how things grow and develop with this, podcast. But John, anything else you would like to add as we put on our Jedi, hoods and go out into
you're not a Jedi though. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. No, it's all good. At some point, I know we talked about this before the show. I think it'd be really pivotal at some point to close the Darth Vader part. Again, whether it's years from now or 15, 20 years, I need, like I said, 2 or 3 things. I need to see Darth Vader visit Padme's grave because there's somehow a part of him thinking that he can bring her back. Even though she wasn't supposed to die in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. Last thought is I'm ready for Kenobi. Drop it right now. Even more importantly than that, when I saw the quote saying, somebody said, if you love the Clone Wars, you're going to love the Ahsoka series. So can't wait for that. But Kenobi, let's go. It's literally been 17 years, and I can't stress enough for myself how excited I am for this series.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll conclude tonight's program on the first ever Across the Galaxy with John and myself. Fantastic. Thank you all for tuning in, all the like and support. Make sure you share it wherever you are. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you like your social media platforms. Definitely helps us out a lot. So take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Star Wars Day, and may the Force be with you.
I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, and our future is uncertain.
Be honored if you would join us.
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Watch your left. I can't shake him. On hits. Where's the reinforcements?
Breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Ahsoka.
I won't leave you. Not this time.
This is the way.
Long have I waited.